Ayo, here I am again. You know, I do like making commentaries, but sometimes my schedule is too busy or I'm not feeling it to participate in educating people on stupid internet drama. It's more like an on and off thing of me doing anything YouTube related to keep my sanity pretty much. There is no schedule and never will there be one. But I think I have found something where it is highly necessary for someone to say something against it. You know, it's kinda fitting since the person's avatar is a bird and it was Turkey Day a few days ago. Let's have this video be Thanksgiving themed. This time I'm serving you something which seems a bit familiar if you've been keeping up with dumb art drama in the past. It happened probably a year ago. The YouTuber named Deviant Crow took it to herself to look for videos which are badly done and present hypocritical arguments when it couldn't be further from the truth. Well, in this case at least. I don't know about her other videos, but this is the one that caught my attention. She's talking about the video Manga Kamen made named Fixing Art, Artist Rants, which is about the Nessa whitewashing and fixing her design debacle. Her video is quite something. It's somehow trying to be noble and fix Kamen's video and be on the high ground, but if that were the case, I wouldn't be sitting here and probably would just study for my exams. Let's just begin before the turkey gets cold.
Now, before you start talking about how, Manga Kamen isn't as bad as our normal people, I know that. Not every episode of this show is gonna be me covering an absolute piece of shit. Sometimes we have to, address people that aren't as shitty as Stone Toss, or aren't as shitty as Antunes. Sometimes we need to take a break from those type of topics because after a while they get repetitive and kind of annoying. This is one of those breaks. Speaking of annoying, today we're going to cover Manga Kamen, a creator I really don't care for, honestly. At best, he's, boring, and sometimes I do agree he does make some very good points. But at worst, he's a pretentious asshole. And I want to make a few more disclaimers. Yes, this video is quite old, a year old. That doesn't sound too old to most people, but chances are he might not agree with the topics discussed in this video, and his viewpoints might have changed. But still, it's worth covering. And hell, it could be said the topic was dead when he covered it, and it's definitely way dead now. That art fiasco ended a while ago. But yet again, I cover it because I still feel like it's noteworthy to cover, because there's a lot of bad points that I still kind of see people bring up whenever there's a artist fixing something. And I personally feel like Manga Kamen is a creator that's not criticized enough. There's a lot of videos on his channel that are bad, and I might cover him again in the future, especially if this video does well, and if you tell me down below to cover him again. Without further ado, let's get into the actual video.
But of course, you've got those people. The people who act like the moral police and acting like they know how they can fix a design. One such example is this. Now, the artist who did this claims that Nessa is now no longer hypersexualized and her back makes sense. Oh no, a design of a character has sex appeal. Why does that need to be fixed?
Well, it could be argued that Pokemon is a kid's game, so putting sexualization in a game made for children is a bit, inappropriate. And look, I know I'm gonna get some asshat coming in here being like, well, it's not just for kids, and yeah, I agree, it's not just for kids, but it is the main demographic for a game like Pokemon. And personally for me, it's a bit iffy putting in sexualized designs in a game that's targeted towards kids mostly.
When I look at Nessa, I don't see any sexualization. All I can see is a woman wearing a swimsuit, who at the same time is a water-type gym leader, by the way. Seems sort of logical for her to be wearing a swimsuit. Kids won't look at her and be like, I wanna sticky my pee-pee into her. Pokemon isn't that much about the human characters, they are more like the secondary characters to the games. Note how I said games because the anime is a mixture of both pretty much. The real stars of Pokemon are the Pokemon. Nessa's design is perfectly justified. Hell, the original designer could have given her a regular swimsuit and people like you still would have been displeased, since she is showing off so much skin in a children's game. I don't even think Kamen is entirely right on this point, because there's absolutely nothing sexualized about Nessa's design. What a sin for a water-type trainer to wear water-suited clothing!
And another thing is, not everyone likes the sexualization of characters, whether due to personal reasons or more complex reasons like sexuality. Personally myself, I don't like it when there's a lot of sexualization in any TV show I watch, especially anime. One of the major reasons I don't watch a lot of anime is because of the sexualization and fan service seems to get away in the plot, and when I come to watch something or play a game, I'm not looking for sexualization. If I wanted something to jack off to, I'd go watch porn. Another thing is, video games are a form of escapism, and some people just want to escape things like sexualization because they may not like it. Have you ever thought of that, Manga Kamen? Also, fixing a character design like this and making it less sexualized is not saying no sexualization. Personally, although I don't like sexualization in my shows, if you like it, that's fine. I'm not going to say anything against that. It's just personally for me, if it was my choice, I would love to see less sexualization in anime.
If I'd want to play a game with a notable sex appeal, I'd play a dating sim or go to a website that rhymes with otaku. But I certainly wouldn't pick Pokemon as my first choice. Media that is generally made for entertainment is a form of escapism. That is true, but not everyone is seeking that sort of entertainment to escape boob shots. Sometimes people purposely try to find these kinds of things to be entertained. You even said that you don't have anything against people that like more sexualized content. It's just that you subjectively want to see less of that, and that's valid. Kamen is just of the opinion that the edited version of Nessa is unnecessary and silly since there's no inherent sexualization of the character. Which means that the people that got upset over her so problematic swimsuit got butthurt over nothing. Have you ever thought about that, Crow? There is no need to fix a character's design when there's nothing wrong about it in the first place. The people that complain about the supposed sexualization of Nessa forgot that the other characters also exist in the franchise that were even less. Oh, but we're not going to mention that because everything that has been created in the past is nostalgic and should be upheld and newer things frowned upon.
Seriously, can female characters no longer be sexy or appealing anymore? I mean, the same thing has happened before. Take a look at Xenoblade Chronicles for an example of that, especially with Pyrrha and how some people actually resized her breasts. But getting back to Nessa, since we take in consideration that her design has a swimming motif to it, essentially when you consider that she's the water-type gym leader, and that Pokemon has done this before with such other people like Misty and Marlin, it is an impossibility that her outfit is actually playing to that, especially when it's supposed to be more sporty. Though the fact that her gym has obvious water motifs to it, and I don't know, it just makes sense to me. Plus, no one seemed to care when other gym leaders were made to be sexualized. Have you seen Marlin?
Mangakamen tries to claim that the new design breaks the purpose of the original design, and no, it doesn't. It's still a swimming uniform. You know, there are certain swimming uniforms that cover up the stomach, right? Specifically swimming shirts that cover up the stomach, so no, this still goes with the motif of water and swimming and all that stuff. Mangakamen also says, what about other characters? And yeah, what about them? I think he's trying to bring up a supposed hypocrisy, like, why is everyone desexualizing the female characters and not the male characters? Now, I think this is mainly because when it comes to men, and not having a shirt on isn't seen as sexualized mostly. At least that's my viewpoint. And also, trying to claim hypocrisy in any way, if that's the point he's trying to do, is kind of meaningless, because just because they don't cover other characters doesn't mean there's no hypocrisy. It might be that they just want to cover those popular characters.
Okay, firstly, if both the original and fixed version of Nessa are suited for water and don't show any sex appeal, why are we having a discussion about this? Both versions are perfectly fine, and Kamen is only saying that there's no need for a fixed version since the first version has no reason to be fixed. Is it really such an issue that Nessa's old tummy isn't covered up? Why yes, think of the children. In a way, it actually is hypocritical of the editor to only cover up Nessa and not other characters that tend to show off more skin. I think Kamen's argument is actually valid here, yeah? Granted, we don't know what the user thinks of the other totally sexualized characters, so we can only speculate, but for Kamen to bring up newer characters that came out a bit earlier than Nessa is a valid argument since the art style of Pokemon is almost identical in Sun and Moon to Sword and Shield. And before you bring up that Professor Kukui and Kiao's designs are from an Hawaiian-inspired culture, I mean, yeah, but is it really that different from water-type gym leaders wearing swimsuits? That is in order for them to relate more to the swimming culture? Also, Kamen is showing Marlin in the picture, a water-type gym leader. Are we not going to have a discussion about this one? I know that the handsome Professor Kukui and my boy Kiawe are from Alola, a region inspired by Hawaiian culture. Marlin is in fact a water-type gym leader. His upper body is exposed. The people being uptight about Nessa's design should also give him a more appropriate swimsuit. Maybe a scuba diving suit, I don't know, whatever satisfies the needs of the chicken. You know, I feel like I'm the new Jimmy Neutron getting a brain blast right now, but I think that's common sense knowing that people that go swimming have a swimsuit on, and that doesn't inherently mean that it's automatically sexualized. Oof. It seems like people are fine when Misty, a 10-year-old, is showing her tummy just like Nessa, which by the way appears to be a lot more older than Misty. Who cares? Let's just get angry about the obviously older water-type gym leader instead of the underage water-type gym leader. It is such a shame when girls want to go swim and train with their Pokemon. Funny how you also glossed over Misty and immediately looked at the guys. Wait, you know what? Let me just check how water gym leaders are generally clothed. Why am I not surprised that out of all 7 water-type gym leaders that exist, 4 have swimsuit-themed outfits? Misty, Crash Awake, Marlin and Nessa to be exact. Also, I don't know if I should include Wallace as the 5th one because his old design doesn't really have a water gym aura to me, but his newer one does. How dare he have a more exposed upper body? What's also pretty important to a gym leader's basic design is, quite simply, the type of Pokemon they use. If we use that same logic on the Elite Four, you can see that the only water-type elitist, Seabolt, has a water-themed design. Let's just look at high-profile grass-type trainers, or flying-type trainers, or even fighting-type trainers. Guys, why are so many fighting-type trainers displayed with bare feet? It couldn't possibly be because they're representing a fighting style. They must be pandering to foot fetishists. Also, quick side note, these canon swim trainers exist. But no one is going to take action about their designs. Who's going to take the liability on that one?
And while I don't personally agree with the change who are back because 1, it's a stylistic choice to draw the character design that way, and 2, I don't fully agree with the change or I think it's not possible, especially when it's a stylistic pose.
Hey Manga Kamen, have you ever considered that just because it's a stylistic choice doesn't mean that it's still, not above criticism? People can still find a stylistic choice bad looking and want to fix it. In short, what I'm trying to say is, just because it's a stylistic choice doesn't mean it doesn't look like shit.
Yeah, people can still criticize a stylistic choice if they have the need to do so. Human characters in Pokemon nowadays feel like they have a more unique design when compared to the older ones. Even in the remakes, most characters look so much different than before. It's probably to make them more distinctive, but that's just a guess on my end. Maybe it's because the artist modernized his or her general art style to have more personality and diversity. Characters like Milo and Opal definitely would have looked more ordinary and less stylized if it were any of the earlier generations. But you are free to stick to your own qualms. If you don't like it, so be it. But in this case, it's obvious that the person who redesigned Nessa is under the illusion that she is highly sexualized in the official art, which is baloney. Also, Crow, you do realize that Kamen said he personally doesn't agree with the quote-unquote fixed back version of the drawing. Which means that it's just his side of view because, Pokemon art is stylized. Never did he outright say in his portion that his views are above everyone else's and proclaimed all criticism to be invalid. He only takes issue with it when people claim to have fixed the design. You hate to see it, but I hear lots of people not liking how Danganronpa characters are designed because they look too crazy or something. Which is fine, because it features stylized anime art, and I don't know jack shit about Danganronpa besides the blood being pink. Anime art styles are generally more stylized compared to semi-realistic or realistic drawings. No duh. That's why a real human looking like an anime girl would look quite horrible. You also don't see ancient Egyptian artworks being the 100% correct representation of Egyptian people nowadays. Frankly, when they were drawn, it was way back, but you can still see how it has a clearly stylistic display in focus instead of a realistic one. Like I said, criticism is fine and people are allowed to voice their opinion. Just remember that you have to differentiate stylistic choices and their function and most likely aren't able to connect every aspect of George Schmidt's naturalism criteria. Creativity is dead, don't even tempt me.
The art. What I do take issue with is people claiming that the design is fixed. and that they did a better job than the actual designer. Oh, and claiming that the people behind the original design are, and I quote, back on their horny bullshit again. Cause this isn't the first time we've seen this. No. Remember a few months back when we got the design for the new Persona 5 character Kasumi? Well, another artist added a skirt to Kasumi's thief costume. All well and good. However, when you decide to spout your ideology and then refuse to talk to people about it, that's just asking for trouble in that regard. Not only does that ignore the context of, Kasumi being a gymnast and that the outfit is taking elements from a leotard, but it also ignores the fact that outfits are based on what the character believes to be a rebellious force to be.
Okay, here he is again, claiming that a motif has been broken. No, it hasn't. Gymnastic skirts do exist, and you also tried to say that the whole rebellious thing is thrown off with this new skirt design. But, gymnastic skirts are also not very common. You know what's also not very common? Being rebellious. It could be said, instead of the character going for the normal and traditional leotard, they go for the skirt, which is less common, and that could be considered rebellious, breaking from the norm.
Except that the skirt the person edited on doesn't represent a gymnastic skirt at all. It looks more like a skirt used for ice skating. That's so comical. Also, no, just because a leotard with a gymnastic skirt might not be seen as much as a regular leotard doesn't mean that it symbolizes rebellious behavior. I think both versions are fine. I really don't care. Both outfits are accepted in society. You're making it into a way bigger thing than it needs to be. But what I do need to point out is the unwillingness of the user that edited the drawing to state that they have no issues with Kasumi's design. It's apparent that they expressed dissatisfaction with the design, but let's continue and see what else is being said here before I get ahead of myself.
And I think the perfect way to sum this up is what my girlfriend once said. I admit it's a good looking design, but I wouldn't say it's fixed. As a woman and an artist, I say you can draw the human body and not have it be sexualized. The original design is perfect, followed her gymnast background. What, are women no longer allowed to wear leotards?
I really hate the point shown here. The whole, are women not allowed to wear this anymore? Or more commonly, are women not allowed to look sexy anymore? But the art piece wasn't judging people for what they wear, it was, at most, judging people for what they draw. This post makes no statement on what people wear, rather what they design and what they see as sexualized designs. And like I said before, there's nothing wrong with making sexualized designs, but there's also nothing wrong with not liking those sexualized designs and wanting to see them be not sexualized. And although Mangakamen girlfriend does say, what, are you not allowed to have sexualized character designs anymore? That's still not the point the original post made either. Like I mentioned earlier, in some forms of when people go to see certain forms of entertainment, they go for escapism, and sometimes they want to escape stuff like sexualization.
No, that's obviously not what Anime Christie said. She said that Kasumi's design wasn't sexualized in the first place. She said that the human body can be presented and drawn without sexual intentions. The thing about this right now is, if it were the case of sexualizing Kasumi, even though she wears more than every average gymnast, every other gymnast would automatically be sexualized too. It doesn't matter at all if they wear a leotard to have more mobility. Something you clearly can't grasp. My god, it is written right in front of you. It's not that hard. Most of these tryhards wouldn't last watching Swan Lake because it is such a sin presenting yourself artistically. Good thing that ballet is a form of escapism too. It's just that some people really want to make everything around sex appeal. Yeah, no, I'm gonna skip the next minute. We don't need to see a section about Crow advertising her merch.
So it begs the question, who are you to say that the design is flawed? Art is probably one of the most subjective things you can critique, and it isn't something that can be easily determined to be right or wrong. I think one of the issues I take is that we can't even have a discussion about this. As in the case of Kasumi here, we can't even have the discussion about art and choices simply because the character is 15, and because the artist doesn't want to have a discussion about it because they proceed to feel like they have a moral grandstand.
Okay, first, you're not entitled to a discussion. You never are. Is there literally anything wrong with not wanting to have a discussion about something? Also, I love how you bring up that art is subjective, yet you totally miss the point that they are expressing their subjective opinion on art. And yeah, I know someone's gonna come in here and say, well, they didn't say it was their subjective opinion either. Do they have to? Does a person really need to qualify their own subjective opinions by saying, "Oh, it's subjective, by the way"? It should be, common sense that, yeah, if they're telling something about art, it's probably their opinion.
This point will bite your ass so hard later on that one of your feathered ass cheeks will fall off. Remember this. Oh, I just realized while editing. Yeah, if it is supposedly common sense that opinions on art are subjective, why did you have the need to inform Kamen that his subjective opinion on Nessa's anatomy is not above criticism? How did you miss the point on Kamen expressing his subjective opinion and that he knows that art opinions are subjective? Double standards, ladies and gentlemen.
And the most frustrating thing out of all of this is that Manga Kamen says, "Oh, we can't even have a discussion." That's not what she said. She said that she doesn't want to personally have a discussion. You can still talk about it by replying to the art piece. Nothing's stopping you from doing that, and they didn't say you could not do that. Also, about this disclaimer right here. Yeah, that's fine. That's not an anti-criticism thing. They don't want you to repost or re-upload artwork because, that's the original artist ends up not getting credit for it. They don't want you to edit it because of, tracing and art theft and all that stuff. Quote retweets can hurt the artist. If you quote retweet something, then the person likes the post, those likes aren't going to the original artist. The original artist might even get less attention because of the quote retweet. That's why artists like it when you retweet instead of quote retweet. For someone that claims to know an artist, I'm surprised you don't know these things. They're very common.
For someone that doesn't understand what is a clear sexual depiction and what's not, this is a bold move. Kamen is taking the piss out of the user's bio because it is hypocritical of them to claim that stating to not edit their art is a severe contradiction because they edited the Persona 5 artist's artwork of Kasumi. Do you even brain, bro? How many times more am I gonna catch you slipping up? Let's see. By your logic, the user hypothetically committed art theft since they uploaded the official artwork and edited the outfit to their standards and portrayed it as theirs. Whoops! Also, are you most positive that Kamen highlighted the quote retweet part by accident because it has nothing to do with the topic in itself? Funny seeing how you're trying to be on the moral high ground and want to teach Kamen a lesson. Sweetie, you are too late on that one and I explained in the past millennial why that's the case. And coming back to the part of the artist not wanting a discussion, it's partly true. While I think people are entitled to their own opinions and morals, they should definitely be open to discuss certain subjects when they proclaim to be on the moral high ground and exclude everyone else's opinion.
I'm sure there's going to be some people saying, what's there to be discussed? And to that I'd say, thanks man, thanks for proving my point. People are way too sensitive nowadays. Sure, feel free to block people who are intentionally insulting you and aren't actually trying to make an argument. But art is a fluid subject, and personal interpretation is a major aspect, and you shouldn't just disregard other people's thoughts and opinions, especially when you come off as so morally grandstanding.
Are you kidding me? While trying to say that the artists are disregarding people's opinions because they don't want to talk about it, you immediately try to disregard their opinions as morally grandstanding. Mangakamen, do you not hear how hypocritical you're being? You're accusing them of doing something that you yourself are currently doing.
There is a time and place where I would like to simply stand up and move away from this catastrophe. And right now, I want to do it. But I feel obligated to enlighten our fellow bird brain over here. Crow! This is not a hypocritical statement of Kamen. He is not saying that he himself is above the person. He actually has every right to call the user morally grandstanding due to them immediately calling the artist's work racist and demanding an apology. Just because he's criticizing the user's action and words for putting themselves above the artist is not him upping himself even higher than them. Sometimes it happens that people misinterpret things a little bit differently, but really? This is pure incompetence. Don't accuse if you're so quick to lose.
In addition, I find the whole fixing other people's art to be really disrespectful in some regards, especially when it's delivered like this. It gives off a whole egotism feel with, I'm better than you, this is how it should be done! Again, you can disagree with how an artist draws something or criticize them, but you shouldn't dogpile them.
How is fixing art any way different from any other form of criticism? You're still saying in any form of criticism, you say, okay, this is what you did wrong, and this is how you could do better. This is what the art is doing. By fixing the art, they're saying, this is how you could do it better. So here you are, disregarding criticism on the basis that it's dogpiling. Funnily enough, you're disregarding someone's thoughts and opinions because it's not morally right to act that smug and annoying. Even though, at worst, it's just criticism. Harsh, maybe? Yeah, but still criticism.
Never, and I repeat, never can you compare criticism and fixing something in this context as the same thing. Criticism, or even constructive criticism, is a widely accepted form of pointing out mistakes or giving suggestions for future pieces. Editing someone's art and posting it with saying that the fixed version is above the original and the art is morally wrong is a fucking dick move and unnecessary. How nice of you dickwits to encourage behavior like this when people like artists literally share their harmless fan art just to celebrate a character. It says a lot about these idiots and you, Crow. If you are unable to distinguish the differences, you either go do your research like the diligent avian you are, or don't even participate in the debacle at all. It's so apparent that you take everything that Kamen says purposely in the wrong way to support your side as much as you can. Good thing I'm here to finally end this. Oh, but we're not even at the climax.
So, there were two artists, and they both drew Nessa. One is known as Merryweather, and the other, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to butcher this, Najuko. Again, if I get this name wrong, remember, you're listening to the guy who somehow mispronounced Kakiyoan in his video talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You know what you were getting yourself into when you clicked this video! So, both of them post a picture on their Twitter showing Nessa. And you may be wondering, what the hell is wrong with these pictures? It's because it's a lighter palette for their skin. It's because they used a lighter palette for her skin. And apparently, this is whitewashing, and these two artists aren't good for it.
This artist can draw however they'd like, and I think that's great. But acting like they have a grasp of color and value, and that this is an accurate portrayal of her skin tone, is just not correct. Her skin is lighter here.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Thank you for telling me that this artist is not good because of that. I didn't realize there were rules to drawing and coloring a character for fan art. That you have to draw them exactly the same, and they must be 100% correct to the original source material.
Except they said the exact opposite of what you claim they're saying. They said themselves, this artist can draw however they like. They're just pointing out that they got the skin color wrong. They're not even saying the person is bad. They're just wrong. Is it bad to say that people are wrong and they mess up? Is that morally grandstanding to you? No, that's criticism, you dumb fuck.
You're a fucking idiot.
Except that it's not criticism and it's them asserting that the artist isn't capable of presenting Nessa correctly when they, in fact, used a more pastel, vibrant color palette. You absolute simpleton! They are screaming into the ether that the artist isn't aware of the alleged mispresentation. But not as a subjective opinion, but as a fact. They are indeed putting themselves morally higher because of something so insignificant. It's fan art. She has been matched to her coloring style. It is morally grandstanding. Kamen is correct.
Oh, but what if I told you it gets even worse? He defends whitewashing.
Spoiler! Nah. But let's just play the video.
Because these people decided to make this into a bigger deal, you've got people who are actually doing this to Nessa now, just to troll them!
Basically what he's trying to say is, because if these people made some criticism and one person might have been a dick about it, and that gives people the right to whitewash this character, to troll them at least. You know, it isn't just bad enough that he defends whitewashing, but what makes it worse is that through this whole video he's like, hey guys, can we try to have a discussion about this? What about the respectful discussion? But he also is fine with people trolling and being assholes and doing something racially insensitive.
Also, I love how you bring up that art is subjective, yet you totally miss the point that they are expressing their subjective opinion on art. And yeah, I know someone's gonna come in here and say, well, they didn't say it was their subjective opinion either. Do they have to? Does a person really need to qualify their own subjective opinions by saying, oh, it's subjective, by the way? It should be, you know, common sense that, yeah, if they're telling something about art, it's probably their opinion. And the most frustrating thing, it's probably their opinion.
This right here is the pinnacle of Crow's inability to even slightly understand what she is arguing about. By your rancid logic, Manga Kamen doesn't have to state that he's against whitewashing, because it is common sense, you know? Kamen is talking about how people purposely troll others. How is that him vouching for whitewashing? He intentionally over-exaggerated the pronunciation of just to troll them. Fucking how is that not an indicator that he's obviously not pleased by the situation? Kamen never stated that he's in support of whitewashing. He simply explained what made the other people wanting to draw the arts. It was to take the piss out of the people that overreacted. Oh no, am I now also saying that the whitewashing is A-okay, just like how you accused Manga Kamen that he thinks it's fine? Oh, honey, work so hard! Falsely accusing someone and constantly belittling them as a person and commentator is really working out for you. Yeah, he maybe could have been more noticeably displeased about the troll art of whitewashed Nessa, but just because he didn't white out say that he isn't in favor of whitewashing doesn't mean he endorses it. The common stance is that whitewashing is not okay. So how are you getting to that assumption that Manga Kamen is okay with it? That's what I'm trying to find out here. His stance was clearly neutral, but more negative to whitewashing. How in the fuck do you interpret that into him being in support of whitewashing? That's the tip of the iceberg. I cannot function anymore.
Like I've said before, artists have a real problem with accepting criticism. They get really antsy about it. Funnily enough, artists like Manga Kamen often go out of their way to say how they accept criticism, yet in the same breath will also say, but this form of criticism, it's bad because, bananas.
Funny how you mention that, because I have someone right in front of me who can't admit fault of willingly accusing someone of being allegedly incapable of accepting criticism, not knowing what the grounds of sexualization are, and perpetuating the obviously wrong interpretation of supporting whitewashing. Huh.
See, Mangakamen is doing one of the following. He's rather being a fucking idiot and doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Clearly there's proof of that with the lack of research he's done. Or two, he's trying to frame this type of criticism as bad. He's purposely mislabeling people as being pretentious when they give out criticism, despite being pretentious himself.
See, Crow is doing one of the following. She's either being a fucking idiot and doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Clearly there's proof of that through the lack of research she has done. Or two, she is trying to frame this kind of behavior as bad and is framing the people she's talking about, in this case Manga Kamen, as hypocritical and incapable of common sense despite being these things herself.
Bit of the disclaimer before I end the video, this is not going to be the last time I cover Manga Kamen. There are other videos I've been told are bad and I might end up covering them. If I ever do cover him again, I want to cover a video of his that is more recent, so we can see if he's changed into a better creator or not.
If you do plan to make another video, oh lord, please let it not be as incompetent and brain dead as this one. In conclusion, this was a gigantic mess. Baseless accusations have been thrown around even though all the evidence that is needed is directly in front of our eyes. Wow, your video made you look so thick-headed. I don't know how you can have something right in front of you, read it, and even hear someone talk about it, but then twist it by 360 degrees. This video seemed more like you already wanted to disagree with Kamen, despite what information he gives out. The context really didn't matter to you, since you desperately wanted to prove that his views are flawed, and while yes, some things could have been worded and structured a bit better, which is no surprise since the video isn't recent and he definitely improved by now. I mean, I don't have the time to look at every single video he has produced. School is already eating me up, but the amounts of fuck-ups that happened in your video... Yeah, no, it's not possible to compare that in any way. This is a bad commentary and you should really think about the facts you want to say into the public eye before you embarrass yourself. No one is free from getting criticized. It's fine if you don't find Kamen's content appealing. If there are legitimate things he got wrong about, say something. Make him aware of it. This is not how you do it though. You're spewing out claims that can directly be proven to be wrong. I'll say it how it is, but retract your video before it is too late. Or, I don't know. Let's see how your second video is going to be. If it's that bad, expect another video from me coming soon. Since this video is Thanksgiving themed, the next one's probably Christmas themed or something. I don't know. Let's see. This is a mess. Don't spew out baseless accusations in order to gain a singular drop of clout. As usual, have yourself a damn good one.
What's going on in here? Is this the avian bird convention?